Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, head currency analyst. In this video we're going to go over the Forex Market Wrap. We're going to highlight some of the news that we discussed this week as well as some charts. So kicking it off with the news then, we did have the Federal Reserve interest rate decision this week. The federal funds rate was raised by 25 basis points to 5%. This move was widely expected and it did cause a little bit of a stir in the Forex market. We had the Federal Reserve Chairman, sort of Powell, adding some nuance to the situation. He noted that participants had discussed the possibility of pausing rates. However, they also stated that if the Fed needed to hike rates further in the future, they would do so, as their battle is with the inflation rate, as they want to see it come down to 2%. Now, this indicates that the central bank is keeping a close eye on sort of the data that's coming out in the market. So it'd be interesting to see how the Fed plays out in the future, especially with the sort of banking crisis that happened recently. Now, Federal Reserve Chairman Powell did discuss this slightly, and he said that SVB collapse was a little bit of an outlier and that the banks are well funded and that the Federal Reserve will help the banks out in any way they can. We also saw the Swiss National Bank hike interest rates from 1% to 1.5% this week, causing a little bit of volatility in the market. And we also had the Bank of England, who hiked interest rates from 4% to 4.25%. Now, overall, the market kind of remained in a little bit of a risk-off sentiment, and the yen actually was the strongest currency, which we did discuss on our currency strength meter. This is just the same one as the one in the week ahead analysis video. Just wanted to show you this because we talked about the weakness in the Australian dollar, but also the fact that it could potentially reverse going into this week, but it's in that sort of vulnerable area where the price is likely to remain slightly weaker. The yen obviously coming back from these lows here and rallying made it a strong currency, and one of the currencies we would have been aware of going into this week was Aussie yen downside. So we did watch that one and you focused on that from the strength meter last week. That price of Aussie yen has continued to push lower. Now, one of the markets that we talked about in the week ahead analysis video was Aussie US dollar, and we outlined the 0.67 highs here as an area where it was almost stick or twist for the strength or weakness of the Australian dollar. Now, the Australian dollar weakness obviously meant that we were more likely to see this overall downward trend continue. However, if price had closed above this 0.6700 area, I actually think the opposite would have happened, and I think the Australian dollar would have strengthened slightly. But with the ongoing current market conditions, Aussie US dollar has remained in that bearish trend, and it looks now more likely that price is going to push towards the lows here at 0.6575. Going on to pound US dollar then, this played out pretty much as we expected. We expected price to potentially break above the 1.22 handle. If it did, rally to the 1.23 handle and then maybe come back to the 1.22, and it's pretty much done that all week. We've pretty much ranged in that 100 pip range there. We've recently come back into the lows, and if price starts breaking higher, then I think we could reach the 124, which is a sort of weekly range high, and that could cause the price to potentially fall from there. It's going to all depend on how the dollar plays out going into next week. If the dollar does strengthen and price breaks back below the 1.22 handle, then we could see price move much lower to the 1.2050. Going on to dollar yen then, so dollar yen an interesting market as well. We talked about price breaking through and closing below the 132.75 in the week ahead analysis video, because this was Friday's close, this bearish candle here. We then expected a move down to the 130.75, which we got. Price rebounded, used the 132.75 as resistance, and drove all the way down into this previous swing low here now, which is quite interesting. So I think if price starts to find support around this area, could we potentially see a little bit of a move back to the upside? Something to consider. Although the yen obviously is strong at the moment because of the current market environment of us being in that sort of risk off mode. We're seeing stocks fall and things like that, and that's what's driving sort of yen to get stronger, which could mean that price could also come to the 127.50. Finally then, gold. So we actually talked about gold earlier in the week, rejecting the $2,000 level. This was a weekly resistance zone. We talked about maybe buyers who were quite sort of strong in that previous week, looking to take profits at that point, which would have caused price to potentially fall. It did. It came back into this area here where we talked about in another video before the Fed FOMC interest rate decision. We talked about the fact that it had broken out, which would lead to potentially further buying opportunities in gold. And gold did rally in the end, and it rallied all the way back up into the area of interest for us, which was that $2,000 area. So if you managed to see that move and you managed to grab onto that move, that would have been a good move to hold on to. Traders going long there would have had a really successful week. So that was a nice move into that $2,000 area. We'll see how this reacts here. But if sellers start to get involved, price could come back down, although I do think that maybe gold could continue higher into the next level of resistance. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed all the content this week. If you did, leave this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to see some more Forex trading content. We have lots of new stuff coming up real soon for you, and I want you to stick around for that. So if you can subscribe, that'll be absolutely fantastic, and I will speak to you next week.